Keep moving, Revello. This is the 4th time I've arrested you this week, and this time you are going to jail. Really, Officer Bastilio, I do believe it is the 5th time you have arrested me, and I am entirely certain it will be the 5th time that I have been able to talk my way out of it. This I swear by those 2 grand structures placed at either end of the city, whose towering interiors I never planned to see. One being your beloved prison, and the other the High Cathedral. I am entirely too perfect in my actions to ever be housed in the one, while being all too imperfect in my means to ever feel perfectly welcome in the other. Ah, Revello, there you are. I am so desperate for your help. Things with me could not be worse. How are things with you? Ah, Miserio, my dear friend. Excellent as always. I am escorting Revello here to jail. Escorting? Now that is delicately put. Your sense of occasion has improved since the last time I wore these. The city jail? What has he done? There seems to be some pastry missing. Last night, Christini left a tray of cannolis cooling in his kitchen. Revello climbed in and stole them. That is nonsense. I never have dessert before dinner, and I hadn't eaten all day. Yet when I came across you this morning, you had crumbs all over your jacket. Now, officer, there is no possible way I could have stolen those sweets, because I was drunk with Miserio here the entire night. A fact I am sure he will only be too happy to confirm. Is that true? Was he with you last night? Oh, dear Lord, this is terrible. I'm not sure I remember. You see, that proves it. The fact that he cannot remember proves that he was drunk, and the fact that I recall it proves that I was there. And if I was there, how could I have crept into Christini's to pilfer those paltry pastries in question? What do you say to that? Oh, mercy! I have no idea. I guess he must be right. Of course I am right. Now I think you should demand that he release me this instant. Oh, yes, I demand that you release him this instant. Very well, very well. If Miserio swears the 2 of you were together. Now be off with you, and I don't want to see you again until I can cobble together another equally preposterous alibi. I have just had the most horrible thought. If I was drunk last night and remember nothing, what if I was the one who stole the cannolis? That's impossible, because you weren't drunk, and you weren't with me, and it was I that stole the sweets. Oh, heaven help me, you just made me lie to that policeman again, and I was always told that you should tell the truth. That is the most common and most misguided axiom, my friend. I have always been of the opinion that the truth is a fearfully dangerous power that should be used sparingly, if ever at all. Besides, your little bending of the facts keeps me out of jail, and my being out of jail means that I am free to help you with your problem. You did have a problem, didn't you? Oh, yes, I almost forgot. But now that you remind me, it's terrible. It's my heart. I think it's breaking. I am happy to hear it. I have always believed that a heart which is incapable of breaking is hardly a heart at all. And which lady is it that has given you this most fortunate sort of agony? Her name is Variana, the daughter of old Cortesio. Ah, I know them well. And when was it that she told you she didn't love you? That is the very problem indeed. I have a rival, and she has not been able to decide which of us she favors. A rival? Who is this ridiculous fellow? He is my best friend Bravanti. When we were boys in school, whatever he liked, I liked, and vice versa. Proof indeed of my own suspicion that common interests more commonly make men enemies than friends. I see your point, and I see your rival. Bravanti, your competitor and compadre, is headed this way. Ah, Revello, there you are. So glad to have found you. But surely not as glad as I would have been to have missed you. Today is indeed your lucky day. I have an errand for you. Pardon me if I beat you to your own message. You and Miserio are in love with Variana. That is it exactly. My lord, you are almost as clever as I am handsome. Can you believe that the girl will not profess her preference for me over Miserio? This living in ignorance is agony. And no one I know knows that better than you. And I have promised to give her over once she has made her choice. And yet, what if she chooses you? I hadn't thought of that. No sense in considering the unlikely. Nor any in considering the unlikable, which is what the poor girl would be doing if she selected you. No, it is almost certain that she will like Bravanti best. Then I will be lost, and will have no other choice but to find the most painless way possible to end my life. I won't hear of it. I have always believed that suicide should only be used as a last resort. To my mind, you simply need to create some crafty little plan that will tease the secret out of her, then find some way to let poor Miserio down as easily as possible. Well, of course there is no possible way I could manage this by any honest means. I will have to resort to some devious sort of subterfuge. Is there any other kind? And that is why we came to you. You are the best liar in all of Mascadero. And I have always thought the best of you as well. Now let him put the two of those together and figure out where my lying lies most. But, my friends, there is one more thing you must promise me. You, Miserio, that you will not kill yourself if she chooses Bravanti. And you, Bravanti, that you will consider killing yourself if she chooses Miserio. Do not answer me now. I shall be back before long with her decision. And may the best man wonder where he went wrong. Really, daughter, these two gentlemen are here almost every day. Surely you know enough of them to make a decision.
But, Papa, that is the problem exactly. I have come to like them both in different ways for different reasons. Poor Miserio was always so sad that I must feel for him, and if you ought to feel for someone, then it only follows that you like them. As for Bravanti, he is so confident in being so handsome that one feels compelled to take him at his word, which steers me equally to like him equally.
And really, Uncle, this necessity to select one fellow over another can be a dreadful imposition on a woman's liberty.
Well, Dorissa, knowing that you have no trouble forming a final opinion on anything, perhaps you could make the final decision for her.
My final opinion is that one of them thinks too little of himself and the other thinks too much, which makes me think that neither of them would make a proper husband.
No man is a husband by nature. The woman must tailor him to fit their union perfectly.
And what quality is it that might make a man so perfectly perfectible?
He will be the man who loves you most.
Should a woman not choose instead the fellow that she loves most?
Only if she wishes to be the one that is to be translated. For the one whose affections are stronger will be the weaker when it comes to who will concede to who.
Surely Mother did not transform you so entirely, Father.
My dear, she did, but left the better part of that work half undone when she passed away. Would she had finished, you might have had a better father.
No better father in the world.
She only says so, Uncle, because there can be no better daughter in the world, or cousin, than our own Variana.
That is the one opinion of yours, dear niece, that I will never need the courage to challenge.
Signore, another gentleman is here requesting audience with your daughter.
Another? Sir, I hope you have not arrived to tell my daughter that you are in love with her. Nothing of the sort, signore. Rather, I bring news from certain friends of mine that have been seeking her affection and have yet to hear from her a final profession of her preferences. Well, if you can conjure a single conclusion out of my dear daughter, you will have managed more than I have over the last 19 years. Good luck to you, signore. Come, Servette, follow me. There is a mound of dirt in the garden I like very much, but think it might be better situated somewhere else.
I hope that you are prepared for a long stay, Signore. Perhaps we should know your name, since it will take several weeks for my poor cousin to make up her ever so pretty little mind.
My name is Revel, madam, and I have found that the mind knows us more than we know it, and it will answer swiftly if we ask it so. So, good lady, I speak to your mind, and not to you directly. Let me know which of these two suitors you like best, and I will need not trouble you, or her, or myself here, any longer.
Sadly, good sir, I have a mind that is entirely incapable of making itself up.
I expected as much, and am prepared, good lady, and it is for that reason I've advised my friends to cease all attentions towards you until you have chosen one over the other.
A brilliant plan. I've always found that the best way to increase my liking of someone is to never have to see them at all.
I most sincerely hope that you are lying.
And I hope you know that I lie more sincerely than most. Still, it seemed like the only action ardent enough to force you to consider which of these two misters you missed most.
I don't know what I will do with no one to admire me so continually.
Cousin, they are not worth the worry you will spend on them.
Not so. While you may take pleasure in saying how much you dislike everything, I take my pleasure from hearing others say how much they like me. Now no one will say anything.
Yet were you simply to make your choice, you would win the unending gratitude of one and the good opinion of all.
I have been told that I should favor the one who loves me best, but cannot for the life of me find the best way to find that out.
I think these two sufficiently deficient dandies should follow the antique example and engage each other in a duel. To the death! I'm sure we can find a pair of pistols somewhere.
A supremely romantic notion, and like all supremely romantic notions, entirely opposite to achieving the desired outcome. The worst man usually wins a fight, leaving the lady to bury the best while betrothing herself to the beastly one that's left.
Perhaps the better fortune would shine on our dear Variana if both men would shoot tight and true, each killing in an instant the other. That would rid the world of two fools, and spare this my poor cousin from having to make any decision whatsoever.
Well, I do not know which is worse, wearing white to marry a brute, or wearing black to bury a pair of them. Surely there is some way to measure which of them loves me more.
You could always just ask them.
Most men never think enough to say what they feel, and never feel enough to think before they speak. A duel it is, or nothing.
No, but that is it. We will have both. A duel, but not with weaponry, but words.
In the hands of these two gentlemen, those would be very blunt instruments indeed.
No, I think this is the very best of the very few ideas I have ever had.
I think it would be easier and more to the point just to make a decision on one or the other.
Oh, but this is a decision, and a delicious one at that. Both men will meet, and at 20 paces tell me why they love me, praise whatever they believe is best about me. Whoever says the most will most undoubtedly be the one who loves me most.
Actually, the one who says the most will most likely be the one who likes to hear himself talk, and believe me, I am one who should know.
But this is ever so much better than pistols and pointed swords.
A battery of flattery.
You are their friend. Go to them and let them know that I will meet them... where?
In the garden of the public library at 2:00.
Perfect. In that place they will arm themselves with their best praises and phrases and tell me how wonderful I am. At 2:00.
At 2:00. At 2:00? Dear Lord in heaven, it cannot be so. I am afraid, gentlemen, you have no choice. The two of you are to hurl at your beloved the sweetest phrases you can think of.
Why on earth would a woman want a man who can speak well? They barely listen to us as it is.
Still, I fully expect that I will do worse, and you will win the day by default. My friends, I see that you are going to need the quickest course in flattery the world ever knew. Attend and grow wiser. To flatter a woman, you must find what you like most about her, then find something to compare it to. A word of advice, above the neck is the safer choice. Better still if it is not a physical attribute at all.
Do women have attributes that are not physical?
You would have to have some yourself in order to appreciate them. Gentlemen, to win a woman, you have to think and speak in metaphor.
What's a metaphor?
Like everything, it's for whatever good it can do you.
So, how does it work?
Something like this. She has dark eyes that shine. So, in what manner might you elaborate on that?
So, I would compare it to something like two lumps of coal thrown down a well.
Only if you want to be thrown down the well with them. Better to state that they remind you of still pools at midnight, lit by the distant and illuminating moon.
Oh, that's nice. Revello! There you are. Have you been here all day?
No, I haven't.
Well, neither was I, which is a good thing, because I have been looking for you, and if I was here, I wouldn't have found you.
Zeroni, you will have to wait in line. Revello is teaching us how a woman is like a large puddle in the dark. I am advising them on the best way to romance a woman with words.
Oh, that is what I need exactly. I keep trying to propose to Ciliana, but the words keep getting all mangled up in my mouth, and I was hoping you could help me with the unmangling.
Gentlemen, if you please, it seems I have more work to do. We will practice what you have taught us so far, and then meet me within the hour at the library for the duel. I still think the lump of cold bit was pretty good. For you, it's perfect. And so, Zeroni, you are thinking of getting married.
I am thinking that I do, and I need your help in the talking.
You need my help in talking her into it, or in talking you out of it?
Well, I've already made up what little of a mind I have, and you won't be able to talk me out of it. I suppose it will have to be the other one.
Talking her into it. That is the easiest thing in the world. Does she like you?
She's mad about me.
And she'd have to be mad to be so. The solution is easy. You just go up to her. Can you do that?
Oh, yes, I've done that many times.
And you take her hand. Can you do that?
I think I know my way around her hand pretty well. Still, I have done all that, exactly as you say. Though I change the order around sometimes, because I might say her name and then take her hand, and sometimes I will even go up to her first. Makes it easier that way.
And then what happens?
I get down on my knees. Makes her look taller, you know. And then I start to say the words, "Will you marry me?"
And what happens?
The strangest words come out of my mouth. They sound like, "Will you marry me?" But they are not those words exactly. Once I said, "Is there more of me?" The next time I tried, I said, "Well, it's merely May." And then the last time I said, "Well, may you be merry."
A mere case of connubial nerves.
Can you die from that?
Your chances of matrimony can. That is why you need someone to stand by you and guide you through the words if you start to go amiss.
She's the only miss that I've got going.
I have yet to determine who is the greater idiot, you for being you, or me for thinking there's anything I can do to help you.
Oh, it is you, definitely. You are greater at everything than I am. There she is, the angel of my eyeballs, my Ciliana. I think you inspire me, Revello. I could propose now if I wanted to.
Well, do you want to?
I know I want to.
That's as close to a solid resolve as most men get. Approach and propose.
Ciliana, my dimpled dumpling.
My Zeroni macaroni, I have been looking for you all morning.
Well, where was I?
I don't know. Where were you?
Well, if you couldn't find me, how should I know?
Well, you're here now, and that's all that matters to me. What are you doing tonight?
I have no idea. What are you doing?
Well, I might be doing whatever you're doing, if you decide to have an idea of whatever you might be doing.
Well, be sure to let me know what it is when you do. But I have something very important to discuss with you.
Why are you waving to Revello?
I might need a witness.
A witness? For what?
In case I do something wrong.
The absolute reverse of my own method, which strives to avoid all witnesses whatsoever.
So, here goes.
Nothing is happening.
There you are wrong. It is definitely happening, and I'm trying to make it not happen because I have something very important to say to you. Maybe you should wait until I've said it to start listening.
Wouldn't I miss it?
Not if I didn't say it, but I am going to say it. So here goes. We'll use Marvy meat.
Marvy meat? What's that? And for what reason would you want us to use it?
It's always the case. The best way not to get what you want is always to want it too much. All right, all right. I can see that I have waited far too long on this already. I hope you will allow me to intervene.
Excellent. I think you should.
I will say what has to be said and how it had better be said, so that all will know and do what nature intends.
This is what we have been waiting for.
Here is the how of it. Pay close attention.
He says, pay close attention.
I am.
So, let's get to it, shall we? Too much time has been wasted, and we should as immediately as possible make the arrangements. Zeroni, watch and learn. Ciliana, you know I've liked you very much for a very long time.
I see it now.
And when two people like one another,
Or even if one person likes the other one enough for two people,
there really is only one course that can be followed.
only one course. That is the nail on the head. Only one course.
Ciliana, what I'm trying to say, what I am dying to say, is that we should always be together, and I want to ask you to marry me.
Oh, you did that very well.
Wait, she has not responded.
Oh, yes! I say yes! I say yes, I will marry you!
You mean marry him?
Oh, no! I mean marry you! You said it ever so well, and if you really feel for me the way you say that you did, I could not be so heartless as to refuse you.
What about Zeroni?
Oh, I love Zeroni!
So, you see.
But he never asked me, and you did. And I can't say yes to a man who never asks me, while I'd be a fool to say no to the one who did.
Ah, 2 o'clock. I am sorry. You will have to pardon me. I have to go to the library.
The library? What's at the library?
Another bit of text that is long overdue.
When are we going to make arrangements for the wedding?
Zeroni's your man for that. Best of luck and congratulations.
Zeroni, isn't it exciting? I'm going to be Mrs. Revello. Well, I am shocked that no one has arrived yet. I don't know what I should be thinking.
Oh, I can think of all kinds of things to be thinking. Perhaps your two gentlemen decided not to burst their brains against how wonderful you are. Perhaps this Revello character has decided not to deliver your message.
Well, if he didn't deliver the message, how could Miserio and Bravanti decide not to accept the challenge?
I meant the one or the other, darling, not them both together.
Ladies, I trust that I have arrived late and that the event is already over. I have found that the only thing worse than being early is being on time.
No one is here yet, and we were beginning to think that you had not delivered our message.
Of course I delivered the message. If I hadn't delivered your message, they would be here already.
I'd like to hear how you reason that.
People always arrive sooner when they know they are going to be praised, and those who are about to be judged take their long and well-intentioned time. Therefore, you are here early, and they will be arriving late. And it must be late, as here they come now. Gentlemen, we had almost despaired that you would not arrive, which would have almost been as painful as having you arrive at all.
Don't the two of you think it would be appropriate to greet our lovely Variana?
What on earth is the matter with them?
I'll find the reason for their reticence. Ladies, it appears that both these good sirs are afraid to speak to you before the duel, as they have between them only memorized so many words, and are overcome with anxiety that if they speak to you, they will use them all before the contest actually begins.
Then perhaps we should get started. The sooner they deliver their compliments and praises on my beauties, the happier I will be.
And the sooner they start, the faster they will finish, which will make me happier still. Gentlemen, are you ready? A nod will do. Please do not so much as waste a syllable on me, as you have so few of them to spare. Who will go first? Very well, we'll flip a coin. Tails, it's Bravanti. Don't we need a coin first? What, you actually think I have any money? You go first.
Signore Bravanti, what are your reasons for falling in love with me?
Reasons? Not a word was said about having to produce any reasons. Revello said we were to compile all of the fine phrases we could think of, and then tack you on at the end.
Tack me on at the end?
A tacky tactic, if I may say so, and a tactless one as well. Still, go on. Say what you have prepared.
Before I ever laid both my eyes upon you, and at the same time, which made it so much easier, I had never met a woman who made me think she is almost as beautiful as I am. That is how I knew we would be perfect together, because you will never find anyone about whom people will say they look good together because they even look so good apart. Perhaps you should compare the lady to something. To something like what? To something like something that you like. I can't believe I just said that. To something I like. Oh, yes, I have it. You, O loveliest of ladies, remind me of a mirror. For I take the same pleasure in gazing upon you as I do upon myself, and that is the highest praise I could bestow on any person who is someone other than myself. Well, that will have to do for now. What about you, Miserio? I'll bet you can do better than that.
I don't know. I don't look half as good as he does.
But if you love me, you will seem better in my eyes. How will you praise me?
I know that I felt terrible before I met you, and after I met you, I felt awful. Which is saying a great deal, because terrible is terrible, and awful is not quite so bad. So what I'm trying to say is that you make me feel better than bad.
Perhaps you should tell the lady how you feel about the way she looks.
Oh, that is even worse.
What are you saying?
When I look at you, I feel wretched, because you are so nice, yet I didn't think that you would ever be so nice to me. And yet you are, and that makes me wonder if your eyes are properly set or something. You look good, but maybe you don't see so well. If I took advantage of that, I would feel like a scoundrel, and that would make me feel terrible, which is what I do whenever I look at you. How was that?
And what is so wrong with being a scoundrel?
Well, I consider myself newly educated. I have always been under the misconception that praising a person meant to speak favorably of them.
I do not feel the least bit flattered by any of this. I am inclined to think that no one here loves me as syllabically as they should. I am very much on the verge of choosing to choose no one.
Revello, you must help us. Surely you know how to save us.
Knowing how, and knowing that I want to, are completely different matters altogether.
Then show us at least where we went wrong.
Well, it's so obvious then, isn't it? Bravante, the mirror idea was halfway there. You should have put it this way. Lady, when I look at you, it is like looking in a mirror, wherein I see all that I want to be, all that I should be, and all that I could be. If you would only look back at me, making your love the reflection of the one I feel, two halves of one whole, two opposites that are exactly the same. And yet it matters little where you are, for even when you are ever so far away, my mind still holds your image, the way the mirror does, happy to hold and behold you as I would be, if you would let me always.
That was marvelous! I never knew I sounded so good.
What about my speech? Easier still. You should have put it this way. Oh, dearest lady, before I knew you, life to me was a torment, a series of sorrows with not an inkling of ever ending. But that day, the day I first saw you, was a day that divided all I was before from all that I will ever be. In your eyes was joy, and yet sorrow, joy to look upon, and sorrow to suppose that you could ever think of me with any echo of affection. And yet you have. You have smiled on me, and that has made my life, even for the little you have given, a thing of rapture. One word from you is all my life, and that life and word are yes and yours. Well, that's two words, but you get the idea.
Now here is a fellow who can speak.
And can make you feel what he speaks, which must mean that he speaks what he feels. By this reasoning, and the palpitations of my own pulse at hearing such rhetorical rhapsodies, I must believe he loves me, and therefore feel inclined to love him, more than a little.
I have never in my life wanted to hear a man say that he loves me, and yet love to hear a man say anything else, so long as he says it well. And since I sincerely doubt that any man will better be able to forge fine words together as well as this Revello, I must think him the most perfect man for my own particular temperament.
Ah, there you are, Revello. You hurried off before telling me when we were going to be married.
I've been trying to tell her what I've been trying to tell her, but I keep misinterpreting the words.
What do you mean, be married?
I mean going to the church in the best clothes your money can rent and saying I do before the priest, even though you don't know what you're going to do when he doesn't do what you thought he would do, which is always what happens, and then you forgive him because you love him, and that is why in the first place you went to church in the best clothes your money can rent.
That part we've heard already.
Well, you are not going to marry him, because I am.
But he told me he loved me, and I believe him because I want to believe him.
And he just told me that he loved me, and I want to believe him, so I will.
And even though he never said he loved me, I don't believe he meant it when he said it to the two of you, which makes him free enough to say the same to me.
Ladies, you have all quite flatteringly mistaken my uncharacteristically honest intentions. Shall I explain?
I have already heard what I want to hear, so you don't need to say any more.
And you said you would marry me, and that is all a man ever needs to say to a woman.
And if you want to tell these two that you don't really love them, then I will only be too happy to stand here and hear you say it. Especially if you will add that you might allow me to tell me what I am thinking of you right now.
These gentlemen are the ones who are dying of love for you.
And yet they never said so. They talk about everything else but me and how they love me. You, on the other hand, are most direct and most eloquent on the matter.
I have known my dear Zeroni for over a year, and he has never once said that he would marry me. You walk up to me and propose in a heartbeat. Now that is devotion. So when is our wedding day?
Never. I will find some way to make this man my own. But right now, I cannot bear to be in the presence of either of you.
And I will find some way to prevent your ridiculous designs to marry Revello. But as for now, I don't even want to be on the same side of the street as you.
Well, if they don't want to be here, then neither do I. But then I have an idea. I will go to the cathedral and find out when the priest thinks we can get married. You wait here, or somewhere else, and I will let you know what he says. Just don't marry one of these other girls until I get back.
I'm not sure I know what just happened here. Oh, it's very easy. All the women are in love with Revello.
Some are in love with me, and some only want to marry me, and that is not necessarily the same thing.
But I thought you were in this to help us.
I did help. You didn't want Variana to choose Bravanti, and you didn't want her to choose Nazario, and I delivered something along those lines.
And I wanted Ciliana to hear the words that I was trying to say, and she certainly heard them all right.
That is the most irrational rationalization I have ever heard.
And I thought it up myself.
Now we are all in trouble. All of us, except Revello. Whatever do you mean, all in trouble except Revello? Revello is in a great deal of trouble, and has gone to a great deal of trouble to get there. You are the ones wanting these ladies. I do not, and now I'm going to have to marry one of them, thanks to you. I got up this morning a free and single man, and half a day after trying to teach you how to speak for yourselves, I have more wives than the Bible. I think each one of you owes me an apology.
I'm sorry, Revello.
Revello, I'm sorry. Very well, I'm sorry. Wait a minute, I'm not sorry. Well, I am sorry. Sorry that I ever asked you to help us, and sorry that you ever agreed to do so. Well, if that's the way you want to feel about it, I won't intrude upon your troubles any longer. I know when I've been insulted, which is more than I can say for you. And the longer I stay, the more you will be. So for your sakes, I will take my leave of you.
Addio, Revello.
Whatever are we going to do? The only thing we can do. Have our revenge on that rascal. How many times have you lied for that fellow when he was in trouble with the law?
So many times I can hardly count. But since I can hardly count, I'm not sure that means anything.
Well, I suggest we find an officer of the law and inform against that scoundrel and have him thrown in jail. Are you with me, Miserio? It goes against my conscience to think of doing so. Well, that never stopped me in the least. What about you, Zeroni?
Oh, I don't think so.
You don't think so?
Ciliana is the very orange of my eye, so how could I wrong the fellow who was kind enough to marry her?
You are a fool, Zeroni.
And you're a fool if you think that's news to me.
Come on, Miserio.
Revello may be a dishonest man, but he's as true a friend as any rascal you will find. And someone should tell him that he is about to be arrested. I'll go find someone who can tell him. And if I can't find anyone, I'll have to pretend I am someone else and do it myself.
And here is the hazard of helping people. Try as much as you might, if things go wrong, you are seen in the end as being the beginning and end of all their wrongs. How much easier to just be selfish and answer desires of your own. There, when you win what you want, being blamed is actually a subtle sort of admiration. But help a friend and fail, and your reward is the chance to argue with yourself as to what it is next that you should do. For most common men, that would mean a moment of monologue. But for a mind as mine, which answers with too many ways to any one action, I had rather refer to it as a many-log. So, my many thoughts and friends, what is it I should do? Easy to ask and easier to answer. You have 3 women who have sworn their favors to you. Select one if you have half a wit, or select them all if you are really Revello, and enjoy all their offers of romance may offer. Romance and all its sweets are pleasures to the heart, but a trouble to the mind. 3 women are 3 times the moods, 3 times the jealous accusations, 3 times the demands on the natural liberty of a man. I will let the temptation here be temporary, and think of some other course to cater to. Indeed, forget and forego the thinking of these women and their brash beaux who have sworn to do you harm. Leave the city for the time, and all these fools and their self-inflicted failings. Escape and wander, and when the tempest has ended in a month or so, return, happier and unhindered. Leave the city. I have a reputation to uphold as a man who can do anything, and yet I will do anything but say that I surrender. I will stay, but must find some manner of staying that makes of this, in some manner at the end, one of my greater victories. Then find your safety behind the safest walls in town. To get out of marriage and the fury of your friends, give yourself to the police and be placed in prison for the time. No one will blame you then, for your containment will contain all further accusation. You will thereby be the only man made free by having been forced into jail. Into jail! My mind must be growing weak to suffer such a suggestion. To go to jail would mean that I would have to confess, and if I confess to one thing, then I confess to it all. It is the very pinnacle of my pride to find the continuous means for staying out of jail, and I cannot abandon my life's long work for so puny a predicament as this. If your best occupation is the performing of some infringement of the law, then by all means leave this last small faltering behind you, and move on to the next delicious bit of devilry. Be yourself. Be Revello, and make whatever happen in the world that suits the frolic of your unconforming nature. Ah, you are the worst devil of them all. Leave undone what I've sworn to do, so that under the mask of my own face I may pretend to be myself. I see how it had better be. I must find some manageable and marriageable way to bring all these sundry suitors and sweethearts together. And yet I have it. The lie that will truly bring all of them into an easy harmony. Each of these young ladies I will swear to marry at the cathedral. Then I will spread the challenge to each of these men to stop me if they dare, which being equally full of folly and fury they will. Then I will not go to the cathedral, which I avoid with more devotion than I do the prison, and these ladies in their lament will learn who really loves them, and therein freeing myself, while shackling all the rest to each other. So, my many and misguided selves, for your thoughts I thank you, but will, I think, here as always, follow my own thoughts first.
Papa, you must help me, for I have both good news and bad news, and I cannot decide which to tell you first.
Begin with the bad, my dear, for when the worst goes first, the better is better saved to soothe us after.
Yet if I tell you the bad news first, it is sure to mystify you, because you have not heard the good news that precedes it.
By all means, then, the good news first.
But the good news isn't really good, because the bad comes after. Would you mind ever so much if I were to tell them both at the same time?
I will divide your stories between the only 2 ears I have.
Father, you must help me, for I am in love, and that is the good news. But there are rivals to my affection, and one is almost married to him, and that is the bad news.
This news is very good and very bad indeed. Are you sure you want this gentleman?
For the moment I do, and other people want him as well, so my decision must be right.
Well, you only have two choices: to win the fellow over forever, or to give him over forever.
This is the greatest decision I have ever made in my life, so I would hate to give it up so easily. This is really my first romance. What must I do to win?
Darling, one doesn't win at romance. Romance is practice. It is a declaration of how you feel. Marriage is the proof of how you feel. So, a woman never wins until she is married, which is when most men believe it is that they have lost.
Then I must marry him, and then I shall win. But how do I do that? Who knows if he will propose?
Perhaps he isn't the one to propose.
Well, if he doesn't propose, then there's no one left to, and nothing will happen.
If he doesn't propose, then there is only one person left who can do anything about it. And that person is...
That person is me. Oh, I see it now. If I propose, then it will happen, and I will win. But what will you think of me, Father, if I do something so forward as that?
I will think that my little girl has finally grown up enough to know what she wants.
Oh, bless you, Father. I will go, and know that I intend to be married. I will tell you when I return.
What a good girl. Pity she didn't even tell me who the fellow was.
Uncle, I am sincerely troubled about my cousin.
Oh, you needn't worry your head about that. I have a strong and certain suspicion that all is working out exactly as it should.
I am hardly convinced of it. She had never been one who truly knows her own mind, and I now believe her judgment to be more questionable than ever.
I have just been talking with her, and I believe I have led her finally to a point where she can proudly claim to be decisive on the most important article of a person's experience.
What did you say to her?
Well, she is in love, and she said there were rivals for the fellow's affection, and I told her to propose.
You propose that she propose?
Her mind is made up on the point, and I expect before the day is through to have a son-in-law.
Well, I will not be outdone by her. I will propose as well.
Ah, so there is someone you favour as well, is there?
There is indeed, and I will have him.
Then go and get him. I can hardly counsel my daughter one way and my own niece another. Whatever would you think of me?
The question is rather, what will you think of me, dear uncle? You must promise not to hate me if I am the one who is married while Variana is not.
I simply don't see how that could happen, when you are both such marvellous girls. Go and propose. Oh, the men will be shocked today. Then return and inform me of his response.
I will, uncle. You can be sure that you will know of it.
And yet again I have forgot to ask the gentleman's name. Well, I suppose I will know all, and soon enough. So, you have information to report against Revello. An excellent piece of news. No one wants him in jail more than I do. I will have to challenge you on that, officer. The rascal has wronged the two of us terribly today. Well, I'm glad to hear it. What has he done? Never you mind what he has done to us. We are here for the public good, and Miserio is here to inform against him. Ah, Miserio, tell me what you have to tell me about Revello. Do you remember when old Signora De Lupio's chicken went missing? Revello stole it. Revello stole it? But you told me he didn't. Well, he told me that he did. Then you were hiding evidence, and I could arrest you for that. Then he didn't do it. But just a moment ago you said he did do it. Yes, that was the moment before I found out that you were going to take me to jail. Who do you want to arrest? Miserio here, or Revello? Revello, of course. Then, if you want our evidence, you will have to grant us immunity, which translated into Italian means that I won't be arrested. All right. Miserio is safe. You have a list of things Revello has done? I do. What are they? Well, he stole the chicken, before I was going to be arrested and after I got immunity. He also stole the cannolis from last night. I knew it. He put olive oil in Signore Guido's slippers. He cut holes in old Deluvia's umbrella. He put a squirrel in Signore Baldini's hat. You need more to arrest him? That should do just fine. Very well. Then we will be off to do our jobs, and you be off to do yours. What are your jobs? We'll let you know as soon as we get one. Good day, and good luck to you, officer. Good day to you. At last, I'll be able to nab Revello, and he won't be able to worm his way out of it. A fine day for me, and for the law.
My dear brother, I am so very much in need of your advice.
My dear Siliana, what has happened?
The most terrible thing. A man has proposed to me, and I have accepted and may be married.
And that is a bad thing? I suppose it is Zeroni. He's an idiot, but I know he loves you, which means that he must know something after all.
It is not Zeroni. He never proposed to me. But someone else did, and then I find that there are other young ladies who fancy this man and have sworn to steal him from me.
Well, if this fellow has proposed, then it is a promise, and if he breaks his promise, I will arrest him and put him in jail.
Can you put a man in jail for breaking a promise?
Of course not. But you can put a man in jail for almost anything else, and if he breaks a promise with my sister, I'll find out what that other thing is and shut him away for the rest of his married life.
You would put my fiancé in jail?
You can depend on it.
That is the sweetest thing a brother ever did for his deliriously desperate sister.
If my sister has her heart set on a man, I can assure you that it is either marriage or prison.
You are making me feel so much better already.
Don't you cry. You go tell this fellow that your brother is going to arrest him if he doesn't marry you.
I will go and find him and tell him that marrying me is the best way he will find of staying out of jail.
Yes, he's a lucky man. You be sure he knows I said so.
Well, if you have to arrest him, then you can tell him so yourself.
Never you fret about that. Just go find this fellow and invite me for cake.
I will, dear brother, I will.
Revello, I've got you this time, and I'm going to take you in. For what, officer? I'm telling the truth when I confess I haven't done anything all day. Here's a fine idea, however. I was just on my way to commit a potentially arrest-worthy act. Let me at least commit this one minor felony, and then you can come to arrest me after. I don't need to wait for that. I know all about you and Signora DeLupio's chicken. I'm sure I haven't the slightest idea of what you're insinuating. And Deluvia's umbrella, and a squirrel in Baldini's hat. Really? Well, I did all that the day before yesterday. You can't arrest me today for something that happened so long ago. The law has a long memory. Really? When was the last time you took a bath? You can insult me as much as you like. You are now under arrest. I hardly need your permission to insult you. I get the impression that someone has informed against me. It was Miserio. Miserio? Why on earth would you believe Miserio? He was lying when he was covering for me, so why should you start believing him now? He gave me all the intelligence I need. Your requirements on that account are alarmingly slight. Here are the handcuffs. Put out your hands. Who else has been wearing these? They look filthy. What kind of people have you been arresting today? Go and find me a clean pair. Don't worry. I'll wait. I'll clean them when you're done with them. Well, why wait? I'm done with them now. You know, if you put me in jail, you won't be able to arrest me ever again. And then what will you do? Your entire career will be in hazard, and then with nothing to do, you will be fired. And you will wind up with not a penny to your name, and you will most likely take up a life of crime, and then chances are good that you will be caught and placed in prison. So you see, by not putting me in jail, you are keeping yourself out of jail as well. Just put these on. Well, at least I know they fit.
Revello, my darling, I have been looking for you everywhere.
What a strange coincidence. So has this fellow.
I have something so important to ask you. Can we find someplace private?
Madam, I'm afraid Revello is going to jail. That should be fairly private.
Going to jail? What have you done?
Almost everything. I'm taking him in now, ma'am, if you please. Not so fast. It isn't polite to rush a lady. Go ahead and ask me anything you want, and please take as much time as you can about it.
I wanted to ask you to marry me.
Well, this is all so sudden. Come on, Revello. Not so fast there. You can't rush a thing like this. I have to think about it. You can think about it behind bars. All right, I'll make my answer. I say yes. Now release me, I'm going to be married. You are going to jail.
What should I do?
Don't worry about a thing. I get arrested all the time. I will be free before you know it. Within the hour, as a matter of fact.
Then we can be married today. I don't want anyone else to get you.
You might be a bit late for that, but as soon as I can get away from this one here, I will meet you at the cathedral within an hour. And if you want to be married, I will see that you are.
At the cathedral, within the hour.
Why, thank you. Sounds delightful. Don't be late.
I won't, my darling. Be sweet to him.
All right, get moving. Hey, she said be sweet to me.
Revello, my darling.
How many of these have you got? Oh, I could do this all day. Madam, what is it you want? I've arrested Revello and he is going to jail. Come on, officer, be fair about this. The other lady got a crack at me and I think we should hear this one out as well.
Other lady? What other lady?
Oh, nobody. Just your cousin Variana. She asked Revello to marry her.
And what did he say?
He said yes, and that he would meet her at the cathedral in an hour. Yes, but that was long before you came along. Besides, I didn't think you cared.
Well, I don't really, but I wouldn't let a silly thing like that keep me from proposing. What do you say?
Well, I do have a busy day going with the arrest and the other wedding and all.
Might I persuade you to skip the other wedding?
You could even persuade me to skip the arrest if you want. Not very likely. Worth a shot.
So will you? Will you marry me?
Of course I will. I like a girl with a strong spirit, and if she marries me, she's certainly going to need one. And since I am already planning to be at the cathedral in an hour, why don't you just meet me there? Take care of the whole thing then. Hey, what about me? You know you're right. I will need a best man. You will need a lawyer. A lawyer? Those people can't be trusted. So what do you say? The cathedral in an hour?
I will make you the happiest man on earth.
And if I'm late, it's because I'm the happiest man in the penitentiary. 1 hour. And you still think jail is the worst punishment?
Brother, you have found him.
Found who?
Revello, the man I'm going to marry.
You have a sister. How nice. Revello is not the man you're going to marry. He's already marrying 2 other women today.
Good thing I found you. You need to know that if you don't marry me, my brother is going to arrest you.
Really? I'm already taking Revello to jail. Don't tell me that you proposed to him as well.
No, he proposed to me. Except for the fact that I hardly know him at all. It was terribly romantic.
I thought so too. This cannot be happening. I'm trying to take Revello to jail. You know, if this isn't working out for you, we can call the whole thing off. I'd be more than happy to go to jail some other time. Revello, I have simply been looking for you everywhere. You are not going to propose, are you? You know, I would if I could. I'm here to warn Revello that Miserio and Bravanti have decided to turn you into the law. You had better lie low, or you will probably be arrested. Well, what do you think of that? I have already arrested Revello and spoken with Miserio and Bravanti. Though not in that order. Well, then you know already. Thank God.
You are so sweet to want to help your friend.
Well, what else can I do? Takes more brains to be a villain than I've got.
Brother, perhaps you will reconsider putting my nearly almost husband in jail. After all, it is my wedding day.
Revello's mine, and now that I have him, I am going to keep him. Really, officer, I never knew you felt this way. Still, my friendly dear and my dear friend, you will have to give me over to my fate, which will be to walk downwind of this salty sentinel of the local law.
Surely there is something I can do.
Surely there is. Go and find Miserio and Bravanti. Tell them I have agreed to marry both Variana and her cousin, and if they want to stop me, they had better get to the cathedral as fast as their tongue-tied little feet will carry them. You are not going to the cathedral. You may interrupt me after I have finished talking. By the way, since I have also agreed to marry Ciliana here, you had better join them too. I have waited long enough. Sister, and you, sir, if you will excuse us, I am conducting this criminal to jail. Oh, please, go first. The less I see of your face, the better.
What will you do now?
I will follow them. Since it will be easier to be married with my fiancé out of jail, I suppose I will go plead for his release. What will you do now?
Go find Miserio and Bravanti, as Revello has asked.
I never thought getting married would be so complicated. Good luck, my dear.
I am always happy to see you go, Ciliana, because that brings me nearer to the time when I get to see you again. There goes the best lady in the world. If only I had the wit to say what I want. Sometimes I'm a fool for the things I do, and sometimes for what I fail to do. There goes the best lady in the world.
Sister, my love for you will never change, but it will never change my mind about keeping this fellow behind bars.
But how can I be married if you keep him locked up?
Yes, I've got your sister to marry, not to mention the other two women who are sure to be fairly perturbed if I don't make an appearance. You will stay where you are.
Surely you don't plan on marrying one of those other girls?
If I am released from prison, I may be forced to.
Then I change my mind, brother. I now think you should keep him here for a good long while.
You know, you are right. That might be best. Let me stay here for a while, and then when I get out, your sister and I will be married.
This is sounding so very nice.
And then you and I will be brothers-in-law. What? Yes, if I am not released in time to marry one of these other ladies, then I will have no choice but to walk your sister down the aisle and become the most troublesome and least law-abiding member of your family. Now, wait a minute. The benefits of this are all becoming excitingly clear to me. What's becoming clear is that this is a catastrophe. Once she and I are married, what won't I be able to do and get away with? It just won't look right, you arresting your own brother-in-law all the time. I'll be finished. I see now that I'm going to have to release you. Oh no, let me stay.
Yes, please keep him in jail.
Under no circumstances will I keep you in jail. I'm taking you to the cathedral, and you are going to be married to one of those other ladies. And then the next time I catch you, I can arrest you free and clear. Now get moving. You'll have to make me. Are you sure this fellow is going to show?
I have not decided if I think he will be here or not. I hope it is not a sin, Father, to be waiting for things that will never arrive.
On the contrary, my dear, it is the very foundation of our faith.
Miserio, what are you doing here?
Zeroni told me you were marrying Revello. I feel terrible. Well, not because of that. Well, yes, because of that, but also because I informed against him to the authorities.
Would you like to confess?
I think I just did. That is a nice dress.
It is my wedding dress. Well, it will be, if Revello shows up.
You know, I'm always feeling terrible about something. Today I feel terrible because I couldn't tell you how I felt. Now I am telling you how I feel, and it's not so terrible. It's just that it's too late. And since it's too late, there are no consequences. So I can say it.
Say what?
That you were born to wear a dress like that, because you were born to be loved, and therefore born to be married. I never really thought it would be me,
and now it isn't. But that doesn't change what I feel, because nothing could. I have always thought that you could love anybody more than you could love me, all the while knowing that I could never love anyone near as well as you.
I wish you had said this to me this morning.
It was too early in the day for me to know any better.
Father, is it too late for me to change my mind about who I want to marry?
What are you saying?
That I will marry the man who will love me best, and not to please myself, but to please him, to please you.
This is a highly irregular occurrence.
It is a miracle, and what better place for a miracle than here?
Still, I think I will need to say a prayer when the other groom arrives. Is this the fellow?
Yes, and no. What is going on here? Variana, what are you doing here? She came here to marry Revello.
But I'm going to marry Miserio instead.
Well, then I wash my hands of the whole thing. If a woman isn't going to choose me, I'm not going to choose her either.
Variana, my dear cousin, I suppose you think you are here to marry Revello.
I thought I was, but I was wrong. I am really here to marry Miserio.
Miserio? That is entirely preposterous.
That's what I thought.
If I was going to give over Revello, I would have at least chosen Bravanti here.
That's what I thought.
At least he's better looking and more confident.
That's what I thought.
Then perhaps you should give Revello over for Bravanti.
That's what I thought.
I am not in the habit of changing my mind about anything.
Perhaps we might make a good couple. You like me, and I like me too. It seems we have everything in common.
Daughter and niece, I received both your messages to meet you here. It seems you are each determined to marry the same fellow.
Not any more, Father. I was going to marry Revello, but now I am not.
And I was going to marry Revello, but now I am not.
Well, who is going to marry you?
We are. Ladies and father and friends and ladies and father. I think that covers everyone. I am here to be married, if anyone really wants to be married to me. Miss Variana, what say you?
I have decided to marry Miserio instead.
What took you so long? Then, Lady Dorissa, that leaves you.
Who is leaving you as well? For I think, against my better judgment, I am going to marry Bravanti.
Well, every peacock needs a peahen, and you're the prettiest and wittiest one he'll find, that's for sure.
Then I suppose that leaves me.
This is not turning out well at all.
Wait, is anybody married yet?
Not yet, but we are working on it.
I have something very important to say. Lord, man, can't you see that I'm trying to get married? Funny thing, so am I. So here goes. Ciliana. I forgot to take your hand. Which hand is your best?
Whichever one is holding yours.
That would be this one, then. Ciliana, will you do me the honor of being my lawfully wedded wife till death do you part? You may now kiss the bride and say I do.
This fellow seems to have overtaken my office entirely.
I will, and I do.
Thanks be to heaven for that.
Sironi, darling, what took you so long?
I had a revelation. I didn't want to ask because I was afraid you might say no. But I figured that if you said yes to Revello, then you would say yes to anybody. And I'm as good as anybody.
Better than anybody, I would say.
Never in my life have I been so happy to say I have been a fool.
It seems that we have 3 very fortunate couples, and this poor fellow named Revello.
I am by no means poor, good father. I just got out of 3 marriages. I defy you to find a luckier man in the entire city. I will challenge you on that one. As will I.
Not so lucky as you think, Revello. I still have evidence against you, and I will be bringing you back to jail.
What evidence might that be?
Why, the evidence that you gave me. Which isn't going to stick, is it?
Do not be so despondent, my friend. I intend to give you plenty of opportunities to arrest me.
And you will always find some way to get out of it.
Ah, the law is wise.
So, who is going to get married today?
If it is all right with you, sir, I should like to plan it for another day, when the joy of the occasion may be more properly arranged.
As would I.
A pleasant and appropriate thought. I will lavish the ceremony with all the grandeur my considerable fortune will afford, and hope that this fellow and lady are willing to be wed at my cost as well.
I would be an idiot to say no.
Then let us all to dinner to discuss, and you too, officer and brother of the bride.
I thank you, sir.
Are you not to follow? My joy is to make good things happen, theirs to enjoy their happening. Heaven only knows how many lies I have had to tell to make things come out true and right. Is there anything you would like to confess, my son? Confess? What have I to confess? I assure you, father, although I always do the wrong thing, I am always sure to do it for the right reason, and therefore have both the reason and the right to say that I have nothing to be sorry for. And how many honest men in this dishonest world can say the same?